Welcome to our All Together Passage series, a daily vlog taking you with us on our maiden voyage from France to Miami. We're on leg one to the Canaries. Let's do this.
Guys,
they're on the bow. Dolphins! This is so awesome. It's like the best part. There's so many.
So playful. Another one.
Oh, wow. Yay, he's jumping.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Oh.
Way!
Yes. Whoa, did you see that?
Yeah.
Little twist.
Story for today. I love these little, I don't know, nets on the bow. We call them the dolphin seats. They're really cool. You just sit on them like this. You can't tell the picture, but it's really great to sit up here. I probably should be wearing a life jacket. Beautiful champagne sailing we have here with dolphins. We have about between 10 and 11 knots of wind, and we're going about between 7 and 8 knots. We have our fixed A2 up all day today, and we have dolphins on the side, kind of playing along on the side of the boat. Every once in a while they'll jump, and there's some in the front. They've been hanging out for about 45 minutes. And yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna have a conversation about our conversation. And it was actually Jean-Marc who said, you know what, you guys should record this conversation because it's probably a pretty common one couples should have. So how did the conversation start?
Jean-Marc shared that he approaches his sailing approach is different than my approach on different levels. You want to summarize it?
I think what he was saying is his approach to managing resources, meaning batteries, water, solar, and crew were different. And it got into a conversation about risk tolerance. And it's something we've mentioned on the videos before, and we've done quite a bit of, we've had a lot of conversations about as a sailing couple. How, Stephane, you come from like a racing background, you have more comfort, you have more confidence, and yeah, I don't want to speak for you. I think you should kind of talk about.
I was explaining that my approach, first there is my normal nature about risk tolerance, and I'm definitely not a daredevil, but I think I learn, visualize, analyze data, and I'm satisfied with the possible outcome. But I definitely while I'm sailing, while the preparation prior is important, but after that, I don't worry so much about like extreme cases. And what I said was also my experience with in racing probably shaped a little bit of this, because while it's nice to have 100% of like diesel and water and all this, when you're racing, especially small boats across offshore, you don't have this luxury. So you know you're living with water, limited water. We didn't have a water maker, we didn't have an inboard engine. And so you get comfortable with that scenario. And so maybe I bring some of that here in our cruising lifestyle, but also feeling that we've done the preparation and we're on an outre-mer and I have a full confidence in the boat. So there's a bit of that where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think you do, and I think I'm coming from the perspective of, while I've gained experience over the years, I never did racing, and I'm more coming at it from, versus living on land. And if you are going through a leg or a passage, it's important to have backup plans, because anything could go wrong, and things always go wrong when you least expect them. So having a plan B, a plan C, having enough waters, having enough power, having maybe running your engines a little bit to charge your batteries when you get really low. So if you have to make water in a pinch, or if something happens, And I think, Stephane, you're more, optimizing the whole boat to do what it needs to do to get to the next destination. And that's very different than maybe I would approach it. So you and I just have different ways of looking at those things. And I think it's important to talk about as a couple, because and acknowledge that that's the difference, because there's a lot of discussions, and knowing that it really is a matter of risk tolerance and what you worry about, and kind of talking about it like that, I think is really productive. I think the other part of the conversation that was interesting, and you tell me what you think, is for the spouse or the less experienced person on the team, there can be a lot of worry, because you've never done it before. And I don't mean worry like, oh my God, freaking out. It's just that little voice in the back of your head that says things like, should we I don't know, be more conservative with some of these decisions.
So we enjoy the moment.
I know, but there's going to be somebody on the boat that has a different, that worries more than the other. And I think what I appreciate is, I'm never going to fully come over to your way of viewing things, and you're going to never fully come over to my way of doing things. And over time, we'll find our middle. But when you're just getting started on a boat, I think, figuring out how to operate as a team with those two completely different viewpoints, or, sorry, the preventer is like bumping the camera here. It's like right in our face. It's doing a good job though. Anyway, I think it's a really important conversations to have. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think while we're new to this boat is new to us. I also, to not forget that we've built on, 2 previous seasons on another cruising boat, and there's a lot of lessons and the shakedown and the sailing all the way up to here, and we're close to the American coast, and we're like less than 24 hours away from Lanzarote. And so looking at all this, it's part of the build. To me, it's part of the building blocks.
I think it's more to do with passages though. I feel much more comfortable obviously when we're day sailing or having maybe a 1 or 2 day passage, or aren't that far from land. I think it's more the passage component. We're close to land, but we're not that close.
Yeah, no, and to me also, going back to the resources, like I want to know, like if our batteries are at X%, and knowing that we're going to be on a certain jibe and the sun will hit the solar panels for part of the day because we're sailing mostly like south, roughly. And at some point, the sun, like right now, is not heating up the solar panels.
It's like completely
so
shaded.
just to know, like it's part of a, if you just turn the engine, crank up your batteries, I feel like you're not learning about your recharging capacity. And to me, that's interesting data that I want to kind of observe. And I know at some point we're going to jibe again, like shortly. And so we'll get a little bit of sun again, but it'll be a short jibe. And then we'll be on a longer jibe where the sun again won't be hitting our solar panels. So at that point, we can make a decision to turn the water maker on, turn the engine on for a little bit. And then we'll do a long jibe later tonight, and it'll be at night. And then same thing, tonight, tomorrow, we won't have much sun hitting our solar panels. So we'll have to decide. I mean, I'm totally fine to run the engines to charge our batteries a little more, not to 100%. Because I also know that we're going to arrive tomorrow morning-ish, and then from that point on, we don't need the electronics 24/7, and we'll be at anchor, and I think with the sails down, the solar panels will be replenish our batteries. So I'm more about like learning and optimizing as opposed to fixing a problem right away, because I think that process is going to teach us something.
Yeah, one way or another.
And I want to learn more about that. So
yeah, I think the other topic, and it's the last topic, and then we'll kind of get on with it, is about sleep. Stephane he just doesn't need as much sleep as I need, and I'm very conscious of how important it is to have sleep because the crew needs to be rested. And so he'll tinker and like do stuff on the boat when he's supposed to be sleeping. And I know why you do it. You do it because you're curious and you want to learn your boat and you want to gather your data, and especially in a real life situation. But I also want to be sure if something did happen, you were on the top of your game and not tired because of something else that was going on. And so, like last night when I came up to relieve you for the night watch, it took you a couple hours to transition and go to sleep. And,
that was a good reason.
Well, we ended up jibing.
Yeah, I needed.
But we could also have just been more conservative and not jibed until. So, I mean, it's just part of the conversations.
No. Because now we're enjoying good winds, and on the other jibe, we will stay all night. We will be like in a worse position. So right now, was the right thing to do, and I needed to get the data. I needed to explain it, and then we did the jibe, and I think that was the right call for that reason. And now it's a couple also tactical jibes right now, and one later tonight, and two now. 2 short ones and one later tonight. But once we've done the last jibe around this evening, I also know it's just one long jibe for more than 12 hours, and it's going to be just A2 all the way. And so I know I'm also thinking right now is the time that I want to be on and observe all these changes and play with the navigation and routing software and the polars and all this. And I know it's an opportunity for me to learn and to play. And that's also part of the preparation in my mind for, upcoming passage.
Yeah.
So that's the way I treat it. I can push through. I know my body. I know I need some more sleep, like later. But I know later tonight she'll be fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So these are the real discussions, guys, and they definitely happen with the couple. And I talk to a lot of couples, and I think as soon as you can put words around them that have to do with risk tolerance and risk management, I think it is a framework for how to approach the conversations. Otherwise, it's just feelings. Like I feel worried or I feel anxious. Well, why do you feel that way? It's because of this or that. Like you can put a framework around it. where it becomes productive. There are things you can do about it. So
yeah, and the other thing is to not also focus too much on the moment, because there are certain things that will evolve with more miles, more time at sea, and more knowledge on the boat. And I think certain things, it'll be good to do a debrief when we get to Lanzarote. It'll be good to do a debrief when we cross the Atlantic, once we get to Miami. You know, all these kind of major legs are good times to do a debrief. And sometimes it's, you know, you have to talk about high level stuff and then and sit down and be in the right frame of mind and debrief, but not to focus also too much in the moment.
That's totally true. Like we debrief things like docking, like, okay, what could I have done better this time? Or there was a current, like how would I handle that next time? And then I think there's times to have bigger conversations around your personal boundaries, around, you know, risk, or, you know, maybe some ground rules that you need to get straight. And there's times for those, and making sure that you do set time aside to have the conversations in a productive way is really important, and knowing when to have them is really important. And definitely it's not good to have them when one of you is tired or both of you is tired. So yeah.
Or somebody is anxious.
Or somebody's anxious. Exactly. Like, you have to kind of be in the right frame of mind.
Meanwhile, dolphins showed up.
I know.
And they seem to like the Outremer hull design or the speed, because they stayed with us for a long time and we're quite playful. So that kind of put everything in perspective. So that's good. And
here we are.
Yeah. And also last night, oh man, as soon as you kind of forget, because the boat is so comfortable, so smooth, and you're sitting in that at the nav station, and it's such a great place on the boat that you read the numbers, but the numbers don't translate. But you start you start having those little waves, and you start catching those little waves, and do like a little bit of a extra speed, and you start to feel that, and those numbers goes in the double digits, and you're like, wow, this is like, we have 11, 12 knots, and we're sailing at like 10, 11, and not a burst, like steady stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this is really fun. Now you can play with wind shift. You can go, you know, we have a little game on our side. I don't know if it's a game for Zatara, but they were like 21 miles away. We're sailing a different approach because we have different boats and different ways of doing things. But it's for us, or for me at least, it's kind of a fun, because having them inside and trying to play with the wind and with the wind shifts to try to figure out a way to pass them.
So
it's just entertaining.
I think you missed the part where sailing Zatara is like right over there, and they're motor sailing, and
Well, they were. We don't know now.
We don't know now.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll hopefully catch up with those guys on anchor and kind of share a little bit of stories about that mini passage.
2 boats and it's always a race.
Oh yeah. 1 boat in a speedo. Is also a race.
Okay, that's all for now. Let us know if you have other questions, or if you like these kinds of discussions or not. They're not mechanical, technical, or have anything to do with sailing, but I think they're really important conversations to a successful project, cruising with your spouse.
And now let's jibe.
Okay.
Let's go.
So today's tip is brought to you by Jean-Marc. because we were having a conversation about fire and how to, you know, reduce the risk of fire on board, and also things to kind of keep in mind when you're fighting fire on board is basically you have 2 minutes to contain the fire. Otherwise, you need to, if it's not contained within 2 minutes, you have to prepare yourself for an evacuation. So one of the things that we discussed was the really cool items to have on board are the fireballs. And I think most people know about them, but they both insisted that a lot of people didn't know about them. They are, you know, everybody talks about the fire extinguishers and knowing where those are and being able to use them properly. But these fireballs are highly effective, and you basically just throw the ball at the fire and it puts the fire out. So we have 2 of them. We're getting a 3rd one. Each will be put in the engine room, and then the other one will keep inside the salon to be able to fight any fire inside. So that's the tip of the day. And I've seen these in the US on Amazon. We got these in a local chandlery.